There are circles of hell and family hell, in which even the closest people can turn out to be traitors. My wife, with whom I shared shelter and fire, found herself sleeping with my own brother. Are you ready to learn a story that will shatter your heart into a million pieces? Get comfortable and we'll get started. A friend recommended the drama of Fortune Channel. Said sit back and listen to an interesting life story. I listened and decided to write my own. To confess, since I have no one else to tell it to. I consider myself guilty of what happened. Of course, I can tell the same friend or sister, but I am afraid that they will not understand me, will criticize me, and it will only make me worse. Since I know these people and they know me, and here all the strangers are objective opinions. I ask you to listen to my confession and comment on it. Maybe I really am ruining my own family. I have been married for 9 years. I met my husband Victor at the post office. We didn't share a place in line. Then we decided it was fate. We met at a fairly advanced age. I am 25, he is 30, so we immediately set ourselves common goals. We did not meet for a long time. We got acquainted in March, and in September we had a wedding, but Vidya became everything for me. By nature, I am a girl burrowing. I can rebuff, do not spare a sharp word, but with the advent of Victor, I have changed completely in everything and completely listened to him. No, I had my own opinion, but only after consulting with him. I made the final decision, and he is very gentle and sincere guy, hard worker, not spoiled by women's attention, living in his own house with his mother and younger brother, Idler, who is younger than Vidya for 10 years. Sergei, that's the brother's name, was born 3 months after his father died, so he was raised by Vidya. Mom was just out of her mind at the time and even wanted to leave Sergei in the maternity hospital. Vidya was still a baby himself at the time, running to buy milk and feeding the baby from a bottle. When my mother came to her senses, she began to zealously protect Sergei. So now, when he was almost 20 years old, he was getting everything he wanted without working anywhere. Before the wedding, I never saw him. He was out partying and hanging out and stuff like that. Nina Nikolaevna accepted me as her mother-in-law, but it was obvious that she had just motherly feelings for Vida, and for Sergei she was most tender and reverent, her favorite child. After we got married, we settled in their house. A few months later, Sergei came back, and that's where it started. He just blew everyone's mind, demanded that my mom sign over half of the house to him and fence him off so he could have his own space. When he refused, he began to torment us by the fact that every night he brought a new girl, and all night long entertained her in different positions and all over the house. My mother couldn't take it anymore and rewrote it. We lived like roommates, only every week he would come over and throw money and something to eat every day. From the very first day of our wedding, Vidya and I dreamed of having children, but it never worked out. Nina Nikolaevna did not say anything, but seeing that she was embarrassing us, she packed her things and left for her sisters, leaving us the household. The last admonition was Vidya, don't leave Sergei. That's how we lived. A year later, we were advised to try one procedure. After that, after a certain period of time, we had to try again. We did everything, but 3 days later, my husband was in the hospital and I was left alone in the house. At night, I heard someone walking around the house. When I went out into the hallway, I saw Sergei, who wasn't himself. So he jumped on me and abused me and then locked me in the bathroom so I wouldn't call the police. My neighbor rescued me from the bathroom 2 days later when she saw that I hadn't been in the yard for a long time. In fact, he took the TV set and other minor things. I went to the hospital and told my husband all about the robbery. He promised me that he would deal with his brother himself, and I was so disgusted. All the next days I lived at my sister's house, saying that there was a mouse in the house, and until Vidya caught it, I wasn't going back there. In fact, I wasn't hiding from Sergei, but rather from myself. Vidya came out of the hospital, talked to his brother, and he disappeared for a long time, He was gone for more than a year. We even began to worry, or rather Vidya was worried, afraid that something had happened to him and how he would tell his mother about it. We still had no children, but we lived well and loved each other. Vidya found another job, more promising, and 6 months later, he was sent on a business trip for 2 weeks. I was left alone again. The first week passed quietly, but the second week Sergei came back. He didn't know that Vidya was gone, so the first day he behaved calmly. But when he found out from his friends that my husband was not home and was gone for a long time, he decided to clarify things with me that I had then turned him in. He demanded money, and out of harm's way I gave it to him, but the consequences were long overdue. At night, he did not come alone, but with some friends. They were drinking in their half, and then they broke in on me. If you like, in this horror movie, I can also give you some good news. Sergei was the only one who raped me, saying that he was the only one who had a right to me. This time, I did not hide everything and called the police. It turned out that they had already had an APB out on Sergei for a long time, and they contacted his mother-in-law. She came and attacked me, saying that I had ruined the boy's life by walking around with my ass. So the boy wanted sex, so why not give it to him? You give it to him. And this is also considered a Vidya. I was shocked. When Vidya came back, he tried to calm his mother down, but it was no use. Then we packed our things and moved to a rented apartment. Why we didn't do it earlier, after the first time, I don't know. Although, if I had told about the rape, maybe we would have moved, but I did not say anything. When I realized I was pregnant, I was shocked. I knew it was Sergei's baby, so I went to the doctor. By the due date, I knew for sure it was not Vitaly's baby. After that incident, we did not have intimacy for 2 months, and before that, I had been having my feminine days. I didn't know what to do. I felt awful, mentally sick plus toxicosis. I was walking around all green. Vidya saw my condition, asked me questions, but I denied it. And then I decided to tell him, as my mother-in-law said, almost Vidya. My husband was in 7th heaven, carrying me in his arms. I was in heaven too, but a month later my husband got the terrible news that his brother had AIDS. The world collapsed. I didn't know what to do. I was afraid for Vidya. So I lied to him and had an abortion and left the apartment, leaving the abortion certificate and the keys on the table. Tell me, what should I have told my husband? What's next? I went to another city, had a checkup. Vidya was not found, but I was at risk. The doctor said that I had to watch for changes in my health and to wait. Vidya called, wrote, begged. The day we're getting divorced, our baby was due to be born. It was the first time I had seen my husband since the separation. He got older, stood up. The only thing he asked was why I had killed our baby, since we had wanted it for so long and gone through so much. And I didn't say anything. It's been 2 years, I live alone. After that, I haven't had a man. I am no longer at risk, but now I am afraid of relationships, and I also love Victor very much. I called him recently. It may seem strange, but we sometimes communicate as friends. Once in a while I come over, and we go out. Now he has started dating a nice girl. He likes her, but it's still not me, and I wanted so much to scream, "Let's get back together again. Come back." But I never could make up my mind to do that. Wow, friends, harsh truth. I admit that the second time I read this story, when I record and everything is the same as the first, as if in the same breath, as if the heart sinks. You know, I would say that this is probably one of the toughest stories on our channel. But such should be too. This is reality. This is the truth that happens in all countries, perhaps in Russia more often. I do not know. And actually, the severity of this story is only one thing. It's like life. Yes, the worst side of life, that I hope is a small part of it. A smaller part of it, but still a real life. Anyway, I propose to make some sense of what happened and draw some conclusions. Our dear author, our girl, honestly I feel sorry for you. Yes, You have suffered two terrible things and almost caught a deadly disease. But still I do not understand one thing. Since you loved your husband so much and he loved you, why did not you tell him everything the first time? Why about the child did not you tell the truth? And in general, there are a lot of different stories that we meet on our channel. And most families are ruined because people do not talk to each other. They do not finish, they keep silent. You have to understand, there is only one life. Why all these contracts, and why the repentance? What good is it? Better the bitter truth than a sweet lie with the one you love. It is necessary to communicate about everything. Share everything and tell everything. Tell everything that you have in your heart. Because if you told everything for the first time, I am sure it would be different. Take it for the future. You are still young, and there will be a lot of good in life. I believe in it, and I wish you. And with your ex-husband in principle, something can still work out. If you decide, and talk only please, be honest. This is the key to your happiness, to the happiness of the people who love you. With each passing day shortens your life, you know. So why drag it out? Because as I understand, the feeling is still with both. In principle, I can justify you too, if I can say so. I assume that the first time you have not told about what happened, because you were afraid that you will not be believed. And probably you just did not want to spoil your relationship with his mom. She would have blamed him for what happened, apparently, and the baby, well, it was your mistake. Yes, 100%, and I hope you understand it now. You could have made a diagnosis at an early stage of pregnancy. Yes, and here's another thing about AIDS, a terrible thing. But I wouldn't want it to be true. But think about it. What if it was some kind of bluff on Viddy's part to check some other rabid version of their mom out there? And you just bought it. Basically, if that's the case, then it's probably good that you left this family, isn't it? If that's the case, then your husband's brother and mother-in-law just wouldn't give you a quiet life after all these incidents. But if you still have feelings for the man, again, it's better to solve everything now. Don't delay, you may regret even more later. Of course, yes, it is easier to judge and give advice from outside than in this situation. But I am for you to fight to the end, and everyone fights to the end in all situations. So that then you do not regret, and you hang in there. Please try to talk to him. Tell the whole truth. Anyway, there is nothing to lose now. Absolutely zero. You are divorced. Dear listeners, here I have put forward theories. Yes. Why? How? Why? Something could have been going on in this story in the lives of these people. I would like to hear what you think, what conjectures and thoughts you have. Let's take this seriously, please. For some reason, I believe strongly in this story. And if you like this video, please like it. Support the channel by subscribing. It helps it grow, and it's important to me. I'll thank you, right? And now on to the second story. It all started with a joyous wedding reception, but what happened at the bar turned my life upside down. I caught my wife cheating on me right with the Toastmaster. But I decided not to let it go unpunished, and took on a brutal revenge that would make them both regret their actions. Get ready to hear the story that shook my life to its very foundations. And here we go. Hello, everyone. Here, listen to a few of your episodes about how wives make their husbands dear, and thereby ruin families accordingly. But I also confess that I didn't want to say anything at first, but then I decided that, ouch, let the men know how it is. Losing your family in celebration, starting a new family. How is that possible? So I'll tell you. I have a friend, Vovka. I've known him for a long time, since high school. Well, he decided to get married. And of course, he invited me to the wedding, along with my wife. Oh yeah, I forgot about me. I'm 28, happily married for 4 years. We lived happily until that very moment, that is, until Volodya's wedding. My wife was 26 at the time. Well, she was still my wife then, but now she's my ex-wife. So, just before the wedding we talked to her and sort of decided to have a baby. Yeah, we did. I wanted one for a long time, but my wife asked me to wait a year. Well, What's the rush? And it's good as it is. And the baby is not going anywhere from us. So I also wanted to tell my wife. Nothing bad happened in our life. We both worked, everything in the house. We did everything together at home too. She's a beauty, by the way. Men used to follow her around in droves, I remember. Feet from the ears, as they say. She had a good figure and a good face too. I think the most fashionable magazines wouldn't mind putting her on the cover. There was someone to choose from, but she didn't go around with anyone. She married me right away. But to be honest, I didn't get my hopes up, even when I proposed to her. Anyway, let's go back. So we came to this wedding. Certainly, we did not buy gifts except for flowers. We decided to present with money. The wedding was celebrated in a cafe together with a bar. There were about 100 people there. And of course they hired a hell of a guy. A jolly fellow, about 40 years old. I can't tell you anything. And he put on good songs and toasts and made jokes and competitions of all kinds. By the way, my wife was constantly invited to dance, as if the other women at the wedding was not at all. Well, it was getting late in the evening. Everyone's pretty drunk, and my wife, I see, is already good. But I tell her, I'm going out for another smoke, and we're going home. We had one more toast, and of course we drank. I said to her that I was going for a smoke and that I should get ready. I will come back, and we will say goodbye to the newlyweds. So I went, probably smoked about half a cigarette. When the bride's maid of honor ran up to me and said, "Go look at yours." She is on a set of bars dancing, up to the dress is almost above her head. I'm honored. I almost choked on my smoke. I asked him again, "Are you sure it's mine?" Well, in general, I rushed into the hall. Look, really, my set rack dancing to the dress in different directions, waving in different directions, so that underwear seen underwear. And the men gathered around the rack and clap in time with her. Tried to take her off the counter, but I couldn't do it. My wife started kicking me. She wouldn't get off the counter. So she hit me in the eye with her shoe. She hit me hard and got mud in her eye. That's it. Anyway, I managed to get her out of there. By the time I pulled it off, she had time to expose the shoulders. She swore at me with all her might, and she kept trying to get it back. While I was dragging her out of the hall, she kept trying to catch other men's necks. I popped into the men's room and told my wife to stand by me. Check word. Believe it or not, I popped in for a minute, literally. Came out. No, my wife. I searched the entire cafe and the guests helped me too. And then a girl said that she saw my wife with a custom in his arms in the car. We looked and that was it. The Toastmaster was gone. Well, what about me? Tried to call her. But what was it like? Came home only the next day and immediately got up to pack. She wouldn't talk to me. Said only that I was unworthy, that she was unfaithful and very sorry. That had never happened to my wife. What happened to her, I can't understand. So we got divorced. I, didn't seem too keen on it. I wanted to forgive her, but my wife said that I still would not forget it all, that I am not that kind of person. She also added that she could not look me in the eye anymore. And yes, it hasn't been much time at all since that situation, since my divorce from her, less than a month. But I admit that I can't find my place sometimes. I can't sleep well, and I keep thinking, can I go back to her? Please advise what to do. I would be grateful. Dear listeners, many people in the comments under the previous videos asked me to bring back our old tradition with my afterword, comments, and conclusions on the story. This story seems to me to be the one worth reviving our tradition with. Listen, dear author. Understand that it's pretty hard to make a serious and informed decision when you're worried and suffering. That's why you should take time out, time during which no decision is made, not about returning, not about leaving. If necessary, even a cheating wife can be asked and give you time if she suddenly reminds herself. And the thesis is ours, then you will get such a respite. First, You will calm down and stop going over in your mind all the nuances of the cheating that happened. 2. You will be able to wait until your mental wounds stop bleeding. And thirdly, you finally regain the ability to think soberly and reasonably. And how long might these speeches take, you ask? I think 1 or 2 weeks is usually enough. During this time, you try to figure out, at least in their own feelings, and to understand whether you should forgive the treason, especially this one, or it would be better to leave his wife. This is my advice to you. It's up to you to stick to it or not. And I was with you. We will see each other very soon in the new video. See you soon.